Well, the first thing you do is an audit, and I'm not talking about a financial audit. It's a gathering of all the information to find out really what's going on, what you have, what the problem is. So your first thing you do is find out how much oil is coming out, where it's going to go, what are the likely places of impact. So you audit your current situation. The next thing you do is assemble your team and bring in all the minds that you need to bring in to solve the problem. And then the third thing is to focus. Make your decision, set your strategy, and then focus on getting the most important things done. And then use all of your energy, your passion, and your time to accomplish the objective. And the president, unfortunately, failed on every single one of those steps. He did none of the above. And anyone who's ever experienced a turnaround or a crisis management situation knows that those are textbook responses. And I guess he just hasn't had that experience, and it does show. I mean, I remember Rudy Giuliani pointing this out during the campaign, that there really is a value to having a president who has that kind of experience, because, you know, there are oil spills and there are attacks by terrorists. There are terrible things that happen, and you need a president who can call out all the resources of the land, and in some cases on the planet, to make sure that we make the appropriate response.
Yeah, I was talking to these businessmen last night, and one of them just came up to me and said, look, he's never hired anyone, when I say hire anyone in a context as a chief executive. You know, the campaigns in government are very different. You can hide in government, Mitt, and be a total failure and still keep your job for years to come. But in business, you fail and fail and fail. You usually catches up with you. But he's never had to do that. He's never had to fire anyone. He's never had to talk to suppliers. He's never had to work his way through a real-world situation where there are consequences for failure. Never happened.
You make such a good point, Laura, because I'm often asked what it's like to go from the private sector, the business world, into government. And people always assume it's much harder to work in the public sector, to work in government. But the truth is, it's much harder in the private sector because it is so unforgiving. You make a major mistake in the private sector, you lose your job, you may lose a business, you may lose people's investment, you may lose a lot of other people's jobs. Whereas in government, you make mistakes and you blame the opposition party, or you raise taxes on people, or you borrow more money. I mean, politicians cover themselves 8 ways till Sunday, and this is a setting where that kind of political maneuvering is not what America needs. That's why America, I think, at this point, is so upset about the president's leadership. And I know they were not happy with President Bush and Katrina, but he got the reins within a couple or 3 days. I don't remember how many days it was, but
3
days, and then he was there and he took over. And after that, those first few days of floundering, he got the course set properly.
If you were asked to take over the operation down there and run it like you would run any major corporate crisis, would you do it if the president asked?
Oh, I haven't given that a lot of thought, Laura. It would always be hard to say no if your country needed you and you felt you had the skills necessary. And so I'm not putting myself out there for that job, I can assure you. But if there were ever a setting where I really felt that I was needed, why, of course, I would stand in and do my part.
I just can't imagine Czar Romney. Those two words, like the Gulf Czar Romney. Czar and Romney, to me, just don't go together. But, you could be asked. There are weirder things that could happen. Mitt,
I don't think so.
Go ahead.
I don't think so, Laura. And frankly, that was another thing about last night's speech that was so disappointing, which is instead of the president saying, I am now going to take responsibility, I'm going to be there, I'm going to take charge, he instead says, I'm going to appoint a czar and I'm going to appoint a commission, and we're going again, it's more commissions and more political speak, and the people want the president to actually take responsibility himself. So, yeah, I guess if he asked me to take his job, I might think about that.
Have you had many conversations with Scott Brown since he won?
I have. We're together in Washington, and I've seen him a couple of times there. It's a big shift, but he's a great guy.
And how do you think he's doing so far? People are concerned that he's more liberal than they had hoped. And I said, well, what do you expect you're going to get? Most of the time in Massachusetts, if you're a Republican and you're actually going to win, defeat someone like Martha Coakley, you're not going to be a Jim DeMint conservative. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think he's a Jim DeMint conservative. I knew Scott as a state representative when I was serving here, and then as a state senator. He's pro-choice. There were certain spending measures that he was in favor of. He's not as conservative as Jim DeMint. On the other hand, he's no John Kerry. He's a Republican, and on key issues, he will stand with Republicans, and it's very, very important to have a 41st senator, and he will agree with he'll agree with Jim DeMint at least 80+% of the time.
Hey, Mitt, have you spoken at any Tea Party events?
Not that I know of. There's been a lot of Tea Partiers that I've been with, but I don't think I've been at any Tea Party events so far.
If they invite you, would you go?
Oh, sure.
I'm going to one in Nevada, their big national convention. I'm just wondering what it's like. I just thought I would pick your brain on that. And heading up to Lake Winnipesaukee, are we going to see you in one of those John Kerry, wetsuits up there, windsurfing?
Well, if I find myself in the water, I hope I'm not wearing some wetsuit and it won't have a flower power keychain hanging from my pocket.
Oh no, that is a troubling sight. Former governor of Massachusetts, Mitt Romney, and Mitt, you're making a decision about presidential run when? Do you know yet?
Well, it won't be until after the November elections because I'm really very busy trying to help people in California and Florida, and South Carolina, and so forth in key races. When that's over, I'll begin thinking about it, and who knows when that decision will be made. But certainly after November.
Fantastic. Mitt Romney, we appreciate it very much. Also, the honorary chairman of the Free and Strong America PAC, and the book No Apology, just out this spring. Mitt, thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Laura.